Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Interviews, live inside of Hollywood Affiliate Marketing. Tonight we have a special guest. This is my brethren, right, Yasso? And his name is Mike Gebremeskel. He is he works at one of the top pharmaceutical distribution companies in the nation. He's also the chair of the Dallas Tigray Professional Network. And he has his own podcast that he started up recently. And tonight we're going to get to know him a little bit better. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. I like to think I'm just a guy who wants to have some fun in this world. So I do all those things to kind of make that happen. But yeah, in a nutshell, we're just out here trying to make dreams come true. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely know. And we always, we go back from, I think maybe the first time we've ever spoken, just that positive mindset. So it's good to see that you're doing big things and continuing to do that. And tonight we're going to be able to, share some of that with the rest of the world and kind of bring some knowledge, especially on what's going on out there on the other side of the world. I would like to say, I guess, start off and just kind of ask where you're from. You're kind of give a little bit of background on you.
Yeah. Real quick. Sorry, I'm actually like your close friend, so I gotta come and hype you up on your own show. First off,
Hey,
shout out to
man.
my man out here on YouTube, on Facebook Live. Got your own show. I see the streams. I see the likes on YouTube. Just big props, man. You yourself are very motivating. So give yourself some props. But to answer your question, I'm
I
from
really appreciate that.
Dallas born, Dallas bred, by way of Tigray, which is currently a state in Ethiopia right now that's in a lot of trouble. A lot of bad things going on over there that those people don't deserve, that my people don't deserve. But yeah, I rep Dallas. I spent a little time in Oklahoma. Went to Oklahoma State. Obviously, you're a Cowboys fan
Okay.
yourself.
Not a
But
Dallas Cowboy fan, but I am an Oklahoma State Cowboy fan.
yeah, you're not
Let's
a
not get
real
it twisted.
Cowboys fan. He's actually a Texas fan, so that's even worse.
Hey,
Um,
hey, my quarterback's better than y'all's.
for now. But yeah, I'm in the Dallas area, so DFW all the way.
Okay, and I was gonna say, just to the point that you made earlier, which I didn't even think about. I remember the day, I think we went to go play basketball actually. So for everybody that's watching, I've known Mike for maybe about 3 years now. But it was a day, it might have been the last time we actually, no, not the last time, but one of the last times we played before all of the craziness in the world has happened. I remember I told you that I had the idea to start this group, and I think I remember saying it like it was on a Saturday or something, and then the very next day, jumped straight into it, and now we're here, and we're actually able to have this conversation now, and it's grown from just that thought into where it's at now, and hopefully we're able to impact the world and make a difference, which is what the whole point was to begin with.
For sure. No, that's scary. Like I actually remember it was like it was probably like what, maybe 5, 6 months ago. I remember it was like we had just got done hooping. We were at the rec, and then yeah, man, it just
Yeah.
kind of popped off. Like I remember you were saying like, yeah, I'm gonna get this many people just in my group, and then you actually like did it. And I was like, man, that's props. Like turning something or creating something from nothing is actually really hard. A lot of people don't understand that. So the more you can do that, and you're flexing that skill right now, like you've made this kind of following, you made this show. That's a lot, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, like I said, I appreciate it, and the goal is to try to help change the world and help bring multiple networks together to help people. Period. So I appreciate you coming on tonight. But I guess back to the regularly scheduled programming. Um, we're not gonna go into, I guess, your professional, life. But what we can do is one of the reasons. Can you show everybody your shirt?
Yeah. No, always repping. Had to come on here with some fire. I want to shout out the Las Vegas community for putting us on. It's fire
Okay,
design. It's Tigray, and then if you see the writing, it's every city in every major city in Tigray. So representing the people today.
that's wonderful. So I guess, well, we can kind of get into it then. So what exactly is TPN? And yeah, just go ahead and start with what is TPN. We don't need to talk about why yet, but what is TPN?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a roundabout way of explaining it. Like, it's basically what would have been great to have growing up, like in my own right. So I look at TPN as like this, like across the United States. There's a lot of people who have the same background as me. They're their parents are from Tigray, or they themselves are have immigrated from Tigray, and not all of us had like the best opportunities, right? So our parents came from struggles. Like my parents came directly from a civil war, basically. So they didn't have too much, but what we did have was community. And so this is basically that, but for us as we try to grow a little Tigray here in the United States and even globally. So whether that's you're someone who's in high school who's about to go into college and needing some advice, this is a net where you can kind of turn to for opportunities to grow to become a leader, and then really just get some tribal knowledge, right? So maybe I don't have family that's been working at this company for generations that can give me just advice and set me up with opportunities, but I have this broad network of people who have the same similar background as me, same culture as me, that I can refer to for advice and for things like that, to make sure that I'm on track to kind of do the same for my community. So if that means being able to turn around and help someone when I'm in a position to do so, whether that's like hiring them, mentoring them, etc. Like basically providing those opportunities that we didn't really get. So and even when we talk about like peer to peer, like there's so many people that I've met that I've learned like a lot from. So I think that just the networking piece, like you never know what's going to really happen. I think that's a really powerful thing, and we're creating that for ourselves, just like by hand. So, shout out to the national TPN team. They really like, again, turned this from nothing and turned it to something. So that deserves a lot of credit. They kind of reached out to us here in Dallas, and we try to do our part to create something like that. But just the vision and the guidance that they provided us really helped us solidify that into a real thing. And so we're lucky in Dallas to have our own chapter, and then also to meet with people just across the country. There's chapters in Denver, in Atlanta, in the DMV. I know Seattle's doing some big things out there. Las Vegas, I believe, is trying to get on board. I heard New York City's trying to get on board. Chicago's doing stuff. It's truly like a lot of different places, and it's crazy to see like these are all people with the same background as you. Like you can really relate and kind of grow from there. So roundabout way of answering, but just like I look at it as just like a dream come true.
So it's truly an organization for the culture.
100% for the culture, bro. Like I said, for the culture. Um,
Legit. That's what it sounds like. It's for the culture, by the culture.
yeah, and it's crazy. Like during COVID, like we haven't actually been able to go out and do stuff, but I can only imagine like after COVID and you can go fly to these places. Like think about it like this: like if I'm ever in Atlanta, Seattle, Denver, New York, Boston, like I know people I can hit up and like boom, it's there. Like I've got like quote unquote extended family everywhere because we all have that same background. We're all trying to help each other exceed because our same goal, we all have the same goal. We're all aligned in that we want to basically help propel Tigray to be the best that it can be because we're outside looking in, and especially like I'll talk later. There's a lot going on, and this is kind of our time to really step up and do our part.
So how long has TPN been around?
So Dallas as a chapter, we launched in February. We kind of been building up ourselves since around maybe like August. But TPN as a national organization has been around, I believe, for at least almost 2 years. So they had chapters in Denver and Atlanta that have been kind of setting the template for success. Really, we just kind of stole their best advice, and that's kind of what it's supposed to be, right? We want to create these really tight knit communities, and where we've able to learn and develop that kind of strategy, we've tried to apply like other areas. So we've been taking a lot of advice from these different cities to kind of do our own thing. So 2 years in that they've been able to do this is pretty crazy. So I can only imagine like what
Mhm.
happens at 5 years, what happens at 10. Like sky's the limit.
Yeah, so I know you've gone ahead and taken a leadership role within an organization. So I guess can you explain what it is that you do and um what your responsibilities are?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I like to think, well, my actual position is I'm the chair of the Dallas group. Basically, what that is I kind of try to figure out like, hey, what's the direction that our national team is giving us, and then making sure that like we as in our own chapter are kind of basically using that national direction as our north star. So making sure we're aligned with that goal. Everything that we do is in service to that goal. So whether we're trying to focus on one of our pillars like Tigray, which is like basically cultivating the culture, or if it's something like social action, civic engagement, it's just making sure that we're basically kind of aligned from top down, because that's how you make the most agile kind of organization, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So you're basically like the facilitator, or I'd say like maybe the project manager of the Dallas organization or the Dallas chapter, I should say.
Yeah, that might be giving me too much credit. Like I like sometimes I like really bother them with a lot of ideas. Like I'll text the board like so much. Like it's literally just
I
sometimes just
believe it.
one-way conversation where I'm just like dropping ideas. So I like to think of myself as like someone, that guy with the crazy idea. But honestly, like my team is actually like really great at what they do. Like they keep track of everything. They think of things that I don't, and I just kind of like make sure that hey, is this kind of like where we want to go? I take out roadblocks out of their way, just however I can help them, because again, we're trying to like build leaders, and I think relying on each other in that team aspect is what makes me the best leader I could be. Because when we all shine, then we know that the team is doing well, right? So that's
True.
kind of my motto.
So, so I guess for the audience, if anybody that's out there that wants to join or be a part of the organization, or if there's anybody who um, is out there when this ends up on YouTube or whatever, how can the people who are watching that are interested be able to join actually? Or are there any requirements?
Yeah. So there are like small requirements, like obviously like um, all of these things are kind of geared towards like building the Tigray community. So obviously, like if you're someone who's passionate about learning more, we have a website where you can go read and learn more. Like for members, taking a small dues fee, like anywhere from $5 to $20 is kind of how we build ourselves, and that's on a monthly basis. And then I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's more things. I don't know. I'm not that guy at the national level who knows all the rules. But those have been kind of like the general guidelines so far. But I've seen like I've had a friend that's attended who wasn't directly Tegaru, but he's attended an event, tried to learn more, and it's beneficial, because the more we can interact with our community, and the more our community can interact with us, the more we become ingrained in like the culture here, right? So we want to be able to impact that community that helps us, vice versa.
Makes sense. Okay, well, I guess now, for many of us and many of the audience that is not informed, what there's a lot going on in Tigray right now. Can you explain what's actually going on there? And then after that, we'll probably expound on what the organization is trying to do to help. So just to fill people in on what's actually going on, and bring that awareness.
For sure, for sure. So, man, I'll tell it from a first person narrative. I'll tell you exactly how it like went down from my perspective, just for the sake of telling the story. Um, so I was in Scottsdale. It's like the week of the election. So I happened to be in Scottsdale. I'm visiting a friend, and I'm working from home that day, and I look down. It's like a Tuesday. It's actual election day, and I was thinking like, hey, maybe I should call my grandma. I haven't talked to her in a while. I was just sitting in my friend's house, and I was like, I got nothing else to do. Like my work was pretty much getting done. I could go grab a phone card, and then I realized that the phone lines were cut, and I was like, well, why are the phone lines cut? And it turns out, like I looked it up, and hey, oh, basically the Ethiopian government has like called war, or what they called a law enforcement operation on Tigray. And the reason for that being they accused TPLF, which is a political party in Tigray that is the rightfully elected political leaders in Tigray right now. They accused them of attacking the Northern Command, which shockingly enough is also in Tigray, Tigray being the northernmost state. So they accused them of attacking a base on their own homeland, and taking weapons, and they used that as kind of like the impetus to go invade with the National Defense Force. So they gathered up, the Ethiopian National Defense Force. They invaded Tigray, and basically bombing and shelling occurred. What they also didn't say was that Eritrean troops have kind of come into. So Eritrea is to the north of Tigray. It's its own country. They basically came down and they started attacking as well. And then there's also drones from the UAE that have been coming and striking. So you're talking about like three pretty much different countries attacking one place that has 6 million people. Um, and
So it's like a civil war going on?
I wouldn't even describe it as a civil war. I would, and I'll go into this a little bit. I would describe it as just like basically an unnecessary genocidal war. Like it's very preemptive, and the reason I say that is this didn't just randomly happen on November 3rd out of nowhere. This kind of had been building up. In 2018, TPLF, was in basically the leading party in the EPRDF, so the Ethiopian People's Democratic Front and a Republic Front, and there was a lot of protests. They had to step down from their power, so the prime minister stepped down from his position, and this new guy was put up. He was a former member of the TPLF from a different state, but basically he became prime minister. He had all these sweeping reforms where he said, "I'm going to free these journalists. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that," and it seemed like it might be hopeful. Not knowing anything, not knowing anything about this man directly, I didn't do any research. And just along the way, you hear these mysterious things like, "Oh, this person got assassinated." This person was forced to retire. Like different things like that were really sketchy. And then it really just kind of came to a boiling point this year. Like uh, his mandate as prime minister during the rest of this term that he wasn't elected for was to really do a 2020 census. So make sure that we have accurate numbers of who's in Ethiopia, like all that stuff. Basically, like what the U.S. government did in 2020, like our census. And then his other mandate was to make sure there was fair and free elections. Um, so coronavirus hits. A lot of things are still open in Ethiopia. At the beginning there weren't too many cases, so it wasn't. I'm assuming they didn't think it was that big of a deal. But as it progressed and got worse, you didn't see bars really closing. You didn't see like things like it wasn't like extreme like measures taken. Yet the government wanted to push back the elections. So they said it's okay to go to the club, but you can't hold this. We're not going to hold this election because of coronavirus. And they didn't say when the election was going to be postponed to. And if you remember, the U.S. we didn't postpone our election; we still had our election in the midst of a
Of
global
course.
pandemic, and
Of course.
our handling of it probably wasn't the best, and we may have not been hit. I think we were hit the worst with coronavirus just because of how inept we tackled it. But in any case, like the government didn't say when the election was going to be, and to be fair, should they have postponed it because of COVID? No, because again, a lot of things were open. It just kind of seemed like a lame excuse. And Tigray held their regional elections. So like let's imagine like the federal government says we're not voting for president this year or not right now. And then Tigray state is like saying, hey, Texas wants to vote for their state representatives. And that's what we did. And there was fair elections and TPLF won. The Ethiopian government responded by saying, we're not going to give you any more money and we're not going to recognize you. And it just became a kind of contentious point. The Tigray looked at um, Ahmed Abiy's administration as basically passed their mandate. They'd already been past the election date. They shouldn't have been there anymore. The Ethiopian government was looking at Tigray and saying, hey, you shouldn't have had this election. That was illegal. But at the end of the day, the people were going to vote for them. So that's where I'm just like, there's a literal part of the Ethiopian constitution that speaks to, the term is slipping me, but it's like self-determination. So basically saying like we vote for who we want to vote for, and they did that. And they did that in a fair and a safe way. And the government wasn't recognizing that, and they installed their own government. So that's all precursor leading into this. So basically, like it was very methodical, thought out. What I also didn't mention is Ethiopia's peace agreement with Eritrea. They left Tigray kind of out of the fold in terms of like talking through it. And they're neighbors; they share a border. Tigray shares a border with Eritrea. There's been some animosity. The leader of Eritrea is not the biggest fan of the Tigray people, and that's to put it lightly. Um, and they had this peace agreement. There was no terms. They didn't say what it was for. They didn't say like what was really like going to be happening as a result of it. So it's very vague, and it's really easy to look at this as kind of like, oh wow, they just really teamed up to take down Tigray. They both have a mutual enemy in TPLF, but what they're really doing is taking it out on the Tigrayan people. They said this law and order operation ended on November 28th. So they bombed the living hell out of Tigray for 3 weeks straight using Ethiopia's National Defense Force, Eritrea's army, and UAE drones. Three countries. Like Ethiopia, without the population of Tigray, is 104 million people. Eritrea, I believe, has 12 million people. UAE, like they're so rich, like they're sending drones, like it's so easy. It's like how much like you need to put in to take out one group of people. And then you start to realize like they're not trying to take out just one group of people. They're taking out a whole like ethnic group of people. It's not the
Hmm.
the 1,000 people they say are part of TPLF like leading it. It's really the 6 million people in the population that they're killing. Like I know like countless people that have died. Like I've heard, like, and here's the other thing: they've cut off communication. So no phones, no banks, no hospitals. Your schools, you're definitely not going to school. People go to church to feel safe, not to go pray. Like that's their place of safety. Like they just hope that they won't bomb a church. Like you have to really worry that someone's not going to bomb a church. Like people are dying indiscriminately. Like they're going door to door trying to take young boys, kill them. There's a lot of raping. It's all happening behind the scenes, and
They just
it takes two countries, two full countries, to do something like this. They say it's a law and order operation. It ended November 28th. All we've seen since then is just literally countless stories of people escaping, talking about like how they've almost died, talking about like their friends and family that have died. Some of us on the outside have received news that our family members have died. And then even when they did, under immense and international pressure, like actually open the phone lines, and I was able to get into contact with family before they shut it off. They weren't even comfortable talking on the phone to describe what was actually happening. Like I can
just
only
scared.
imagine what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
and this is all happening behind closed doors because of their identity.
So
And
it sounds like everybody just decided to just pick on this one country or one part of the country. It says thank you for being a great example for the youth. We also have great explanation on the situation in Tigray. Way to go, Mike, and I'd have to agree. And I'm not 100% sure how to say this name, but Abiy Ahmed is an unelected leader. He's postponed the election to consolidate the power of Tigray. Went ahead, had their election. The dispute started because then he stopped releasing government funds. So you've got definitely got support here. Uh, Forgot I did have a question. So it was something about I guess everybody just kind of picking on this one place. Everybody just picking on it. It seems like it's the smaller place too. So, the little guy is getting bullied.
yeah, it's crazy. So like, that civil war that, my parents kind of escaped from, like my mom basically grew up in that. Like I like started to put the like things together, like literally the whole time she was there was basically like one war. Um, just like one struggle. And with that, that was really led by the Tigray people. Like they stood up to the basically Marxist regime that was called the Derg. The Derg is basically a militaristic regime that took over from Haile Selassie. They basically forced a coup. They had the support of communist Russia,
It's a
and really
long time he's been
consolidated
in power
power.
then.
Yeah, and they spent 20 years of it, doing this thing called the Red Terror. So basically, like, they're very much targeting like people to kill that have power to consolidate their power, and basically ruling by, um, without a better word for it, terror. And TPLF was basically a group of people, in Tigray. Started, I believe it was 6 people, starting out in one small room called the Debit, or one town called the Debit, in a small room, and they came together to form TPLF, and they basically like were the original backbone of the people who fought off, this militaristic regime and set up the Ethiopian People's Democratic Republic Front. So they worked with the ELF, with, the OLF, with other ethnic groups to basically, take back power in Ethiopia. And establish like a federated republic, and then that led to them having their first ever elections, like in I think it was like 1995 or something. Um, so like you know they're definitely, if I mean if anything, like they remember that the Tigrayan people will fight. Like there's a term called Wayane, and that's like it's basically like like just it's like the spirit, like the spirit to like have self determination, to like want to fight for your country, like things like that. And um, like we're a proud people, but like we're like a very strong and kind people too. Like all of this fighting is happening in in Tigray. Yet, like, why is it taking a whole country, the rest of the country in Ethiopia? Why is it taking the help of Eritrea to take down, just this one small state? It's because they recognize like how strong like we are as a people. So that's why, like, even here they talk about, we want to be making sure like our mental health is okay. Um, and just like you're working like and understand, because you gotta think about it, like your family could die at any moment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you're probably
You
worried
can't
about your
hear from
family on
them.
the other side of the world.
Yeah,
You don't know what's going on. They could cut the cords. Um, and you also got thanks for being the voice of the voiceless.
yeah, it's like I just think about it like this, like obviously I have a lot of family, but like the thing that just like scares me the most is like my grandma is like the best person in the world, and I think about it like this, like she's just a poor old defenseless woman. No one should really have to fear their own government killing them, and like it's very targeted. um like just you really have to go online and read some of these stories, like just make sure you're like sitting down before you read them. But like you'll hear gruesome stories of like rape. Like I've seen, there was one girl that got raped, she had her arm like amputated, she had her leg amputated, like just gruesome abuses, like I couldn't even describe like what it is. And these people are living to tell the tale. And then I even remember like the chance I did get to talk to like my grandma, talk to my aunt. They were saying like, we see what y'all are doing, like keep doing it, keep fighting for us, keep being the voice. That's kind of like what drives it, you know what I'm saying? Like they're willing to endure this because they know at the end of the day, like we need to free like Tigray, like or strong people, they want to see it all the way through. And so like it's kind of hard to put this all down. Like you got work, you got community stuff, you got to do your own, like I got my own dreams and stuff like that. But then we also got to worry about this too. Like the whole point of TPN at the end of the day is to like try to build that little Tigray outside of Tigray, but there's no little Tigray outside of Tigray without the original Tigray, and we're trying to build that up the best we
True,
can.
very
So
very true.
like as a diaspora, like again, shout out to everybody in the diaspora, like for what they're doing. Like there's some amazing people out here just campaigning, like literally building websites on at a whim, like Omna Tigray, like everyone behind that, and building the tweet templates, like bringing the awareness. Like it's been crazy. So
I was
we
gonna say
definitely,
that was my next question was what is I guess what are you doing and what is the organization doing to try to help and bring awareness, which I know is one of the main things is most people are not going to know that this is happening.
yeah. No, that's a good question. I appreciate it, man. um, I was gonna say, like what we're doing right now, like there's two really great websites. There's if you just Google search "I stand with Tigray" or "Stand with Tigray," they literally will have for you broken down like resources you can go to read on the latest news. There's GoFundMe links that you can contribute to, and then there's
I have seen some of those.
ready to tweet templates that you can just send off, and they're like spreading the message. Like obviously you can read the tweets before you send them, but it gives you like the framework of how you can do your advocacy. So those are really great. Like if you just don't know how to say it and you just need someone to do it for you, or like if you just want to make sure like it's impactful, like we're using specific hashtags. A lot of like thought that goes into it. I'm not that smart, but sometimes I sit in on those meetings to try to think about like how to better like do my part.
I
And
mean,
it's
don't discredit yourself. I mean, we were run by presidents that haven't even graduated high school, as far as I know. So
yeah. So yeah, there's
clearly, you're
definitely
doing a lot from the comments that we see. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. No,
got another one here. Go, Mike.
it's a whole team thing. Like like everyone's doing some part. Like there's a lot of people I could shout out. I'd spend a lot of time doing it. But at the end of the day, like it's like it's a whole diaspora. Like if I tell you like there's like even crazier people out there with like some crazy skills, like there's some good leaders out here that I'm learning a lot from. It's them, and that's why I'm so like into like TPN. It's because like like for example even like our chapter advisor, just super top, super sharp, super on point. So imagine like if we could just build our entire community like that. It's crazy. Like there's nothing we couldn't do, and that's like our slogan. There's no mountain we can't climb. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
I mean, that makes complete sense. But also, you're doing quite a bit within the organization yourself, as far as what I see here. Mike is very modest, and he's doing so much. So keep it up, man. And for anybody that's in TPN, also, I would encourage you to join this group. It is Hollywood Affiliate Marketing Services. And like I tell anybody that comes on here, whether they have an idea, a dream, a vision, a business, whatever it is, continue to post about it, because I know that the goal is to bring awareness. And the purpose of this group is to, bring multiple networks to other people. You never know what's going on next door. So, I mean, everybody who's watching right now is a neighbor to somebody, and that neighbor may have no idea what you're going through, what your family's going through, or just have no awareness to what's going on the other end of the other side of the world, because everybody's so wrapped up in what's going on, whether that's a STEMI or if it's
Stimmy season.
I'm just saying, or pandemic or their job or whatever. So also it helps to help us to realize we're also not in the worst situation that there is, and there's still ways that we can help, and there's ways that and things could always be much worse. So I encourage everybody to join and also continue to promote and share the information of your organization, so that there is awareness, and hopefully things can change. You never know where it may start, because you plant that seed today, it could definitely grow into something. You may come across, the post may come across the right person.
That's facts. Um, Man, you do it on the court a lot. Sometimes you just gotta shoot your shot. It's like
Hey, I
you
tell you
really
all the time.
just
Sometimes you gotta pass it too. Throw an
that
alley.
yeah, that too. And you just really just gotta try. Like, whatever your dream is, like, and you basically say this all the time. Like, if you just do it, like the worst that's gonna happen is you're gonna learn the right way to not do it.
You got a long one here. You may have to read this one, Mike. I'm having a hard time with the
Yeah.
names. So
Uh
go ahead.
Thank you, Michael, for being the voice of the Tigray people. Abiy Ahmed sent the Ethiopian government army, Eritrean government army, and Amhara paramilitary army UAE drones to attack Tigray. We're 6 million people strong. It's a horrible situation. That's facts. Yeah, I didn't mention that too. Like, there's literally like other states, like mainly the Amhara state, has sent in their own specific like state army in, and they've been doing a lot of looting, a lot of indiscriminate killing. Like, imagine like the army comes through to your town, just like cleans up shop, and they said like, "Oh yeah, it's all done here." And then like a second army comes through, and they're not as nice. None of them are nice. They're just more mean, and they have a lot of hate in their heart. Um, so like, there's that to deal with too. Like, it is. You really just have to read on it to see. Like, you're gonna read some stuff and just believe like this is where we are in the 21st century. It's literally so crazy.
Yeah.
Um, in America, like I was just talking to it about a friend yesterday, you'll never see that happen in America because like we have a military presence everywhere in the world, and that's because obviously like it's a 300-year-old like country that has like all these vast resources, but like man, it's like we'll never know what it's like to be in that situation. It's not even like
Don't even want to be honest with you.
yeah, like it's crazy that these are like our actual families going through this. Like that's the crazy part. So I mean,
So so with that, now that you're able to bring this awareness and shine a light on the situation, for the members in the group, for the people in the audience, for anybody that will see this on the YouTube page or YouTube channel, what can the audience do to assist or help with the movement?
yeah, there's like there's probably a couple different things, but I think there's two main things. Like whenever I have a friend reach out and ask like what they can do, one, you can donate, and in these links we can put in the description. Like Omni Tigray is a great spot. where you can find like fundraisers that have direct like lines to helping the people. Same thing with I Stand with Tigray. Like those are the two main places I go to for tweet templates, for just bringing people who don't know a lot and explaining high level, and then sending them there for detailed information. That's a good place to go. And then spreading awareness. Again, those are good places to do that as well. They have the tweets that are already made that are all a part of the strategy of like revealing like certain things, like Italy selling arms to Ethiopia and like providing them with their military with some training like a couple months before all this happened. Just like little things, like as we learn them, being strategic about how we document and basically speak to them, so that way there's awareness raised. So um, number one probably might just be the awareness piece, like how you can tweet out about it, and then number two is fundraising. Um, but it's really about spreading the awareness, like making sure, like, we're putting pressure on the UN, we're putting pressure on the African Union, who is a little bit spotty in their jurisdiction, putting pressure on countries like the US, Australia, England, countries that have like
Power.
good power and relations with Ethiopia, to put that pressure on them, because at the end of the day, it's a very targeted genocide. When they say the military operation ended after 3 weeks, but you're still getting reports now of just people dying like in these terrible situations. What has been going on for the past 4 months? And then on top of
So,
that, you can't see or hear anything from them. They've arrested journalists in the area, so um,
do you have any idea why it seems that some of those world powers haven't stepped in?
man, I would want to hope that people learn from Rwanda. Like the United States basically flew to Rwanda after all this happened, and they said, "Yeah, we knew um, about the situation. We knew what was going on, and they did nothing." So hopefully, these world powers are looking at the situation and saying, like, "How can we step in and make a meaningful change to stop this?" And realistically, like the um, basically all the parties of Tigray, all political parties came together and wrote down like what they would want, like as the people of Tigray, like what we would want to do to resolve the situation. It's basically calling for a mediated negotiation to make sure that like peace is done, right? But the Ethiopian government has refused to do so. They've called it an internal matter. So ideally, it would be to just have peaceful negotiations. Like at this point, like voting what the people of Tigray want to do, however they feel about the situation. Do they stay? Do they leave? That's completely up to them. But having a peaceful dialogue, that's the way to stop this. Like, what's the point of all this killing now? Like, think about it. What is the point? We haven't gone and invaded the other states. We're not saying we're going to take over Ethiopia. We're just saying we're trying to protect our state. You can just tell them the intent based off of that it's not a war that we want to be fighting in. And I don't know why the other side continues to want to participate in what basically the Secretary of State called a genocide. We've known it's been a genocide, and the United States finally called it such just a couple of days ago. So there's that. And then I see that question right there. It says, where does the money go and do to help in the situation? Um, so, like one example that comes top of mind that I just saw a little while ago, there's a lot of money that's being sent in the form of volunteers. So these volunteers are going to Sudan right now and helping out at refugee camps where over like 50, 60,000 refugees have basically left Tigray and have settled in Sudan. It might be more. That's the last time I checked. Like at a certain point, these numbers just become crazy. But it'll go to things like sanitary pads for like women. It'll go to things like just medical supplies. Because think about it, a lot of women are actually, like, another thing is a lot of women are getting raped, man, just like openly. Like
Hmm.
there's some terrible stories. Like I could not describe them to you, and they need like that medical care. Like they've been very deliberate in attacking hospitals. So Tigray used to have like really good health systems. Like now it's getting messed up. So that's where it's just like a lot of that money is going to like making sure people are good, to like food. You can donate, like you can go look at the UN's website, UNHCR. They're one of the few orgs that have gone in there. You can look. There's like some specific NGOs. You can see like what it is that they do in these situations and pick and choose where you donate your money from there. But each of these like petitions or GoFundmes are very clear in like what the money is going to go to. So it really depends like how you want to support. But again, like that's a great way to support. But even more than anything is the awareness. The more we can pressure people who have the power to make decisions, the better we can do it. Because
Yeah, because
obviously
it's
we
kind of
can't.
like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like making it known with what happened during the summer. where you had people around the world marching for George Floyd. It put pressure on the government to actually take a stand. And it's, maybe people around the world wouldn't have known that that's what's going on, or that it was so serious in the United States. But I noticed that this comment here says, "Did you know communication was blocked? No telephone, no banking, no electronic. The region was locked out from the world." And I mean, that's really crazy to think. Okay, you got the little guy. Not only are you going to stifle them out, but now you're completely blocking them off from the entire world. So I guess what is possible to even get through if basically they're just putting everybody in a box and kind of closing the door. It's like you're stifling
What do
them
you,
out.
yeah, what do you, what, again, like the question that everyone's been asking since day one is, what are you hiding by doing this? You would think, like, if they're trying to take out TPLF, the political party that represents the Tigray people, and they weren't trying to hurt the Tigray people like the prime minister and his government have said since day one, yet again, we've seen people die. Think about it like this: it's basically a genocide. TPLF has been able to communicate, like, the president of Tigray, Gebremeskel and Gebremeskel, he's actually talked to like CNN. He's had an interview with them. Getachew, he's like talked to people, had interviews. Like, I literally followed him on Twitter. Like, like, they're not blocking their communications. So what exactly is the point of blocking the communications? What exactly is the point of blocking the banks? It's not hurting them. Clearly, it's hurting the people.
Hmm.
So again,
So you think there's some
very
corruption
targeted.
going on?
It's no, it's definitely corruption. It's definitely a genocide. Like, the prime minister came out and said our operation concluded on November 28th, and not a single Tigrayan civilian was harmed. When we know for a fact, and we've heard from Ethiopian generals that lots of people have died. They've admitted to there being lots of rape. They've admitted to there being extrajudicial killings. There was an article by Amnesty done like on what happened in Aksum, where my family's from. 800 people were slaughtered, and that's been basically backed up and supported. Amnesty did the report, but Human Right Watch has done some news on it. The BBC has corroborated on it. Like, they've all these news places have confirmed this happened, and the Ethiopian government has basically said it's false. A lot of people from the other parts of Ethiopia like have also claimed that this war isn't happening, that it's not a genocide. It's actually just now a point where it's like a battle of misinformation. But at the end of the day, we know what's actually happened. Like, you can see down here below, like I was saying earlier, almost all the hospitals are not working right now, 70%. And when
And
the
in the middle of a
government,
pandemic.
yeah. So like you can look it up. Like, we're seeing pictures of these places bombed. Like, I literally just looked at a picture of a school completely destroyed, and kids just looking at it. Like, they're taking the supplies. Like, it's basically destroying the future. Like, it's insane. So I mean,
It honestly kind of sounds somewhat like the United States back with the Native Americans and how they got, kind of drove out and you can't
yeah, they
find
even
many anymore.
there was parts of Western Tigray that the government has basically just cut off and said, like, hey, we're going to give this back to the Amhara state, and the people that live there speak our language, speak Tigrinya. They are Tigrayan people, but they're giving that land back to this other state. Um, so like it's basically the government is sponsoring like this. Um, Again, lack for a better word, and this is the perfect word to describe it. It's a genocide. Like, again, lots of people are being indiscriminately killed, like shelling of civilian areas, shelling of businesses, hospitals, schools. Like, it's very calculated. Like, this happened on November 3rd when the whole world is watching the United States elections. Everyone's watching it. They didn't. I remember. I was tracking the news for days. Like, no one was really picking up on what was happening um, until like at least a couple weeks later, once the U.S. election had settled down. So that's where it's like, what do we do? And then, the new president, Joe Biden, didn't really take office until I think it was the 22nd or something like that of January. So in that time in between, the government was in transition. Like, they weren't really focused on the international affairs. It wasn't until Joe Biden came into office like that the government could actually like start to do stuff about it, because the government was exiting and they really didn't want to get involved in what was happening. So um, they really timed this like perfectly, like, to be honest. And it's pretty evil. Like, you once you start to see how calculated it is, you realize how evil it is.
Yeah, so we got a question that says, "What is the point for all of the killings?" So I guess one question from the audience would probably, they're probably just wondering like, why Tigray and why,
Again, it's
is there some kind of money? Is there, what is it that they're trying to get out of killing these people or harming them like that?
so they're trying to attack TPLF, right? And TPLF is the party that represents Tigray. They used to be the head of the state, so the head of the Ethiopian People's Democratic Republic Front. So basically, it's like imagine like, okay, Donald Trump is coming out of power, and like Joe Biden wanted to just make sure he didn't hear from him ever again, or he didn't try to usurp power. In which case, like that's never happened. Like they're basically just coming up with these aggressions. Like you'll see here below, the opposition parties who aren't who aren't the leaders of Tigray, like the official, they've come together. They had the joint statement I was talking about earlier, where they said like we confirm 52,000 civilians have died. Just civilians have died. So people who are completely innocent. It's a crime of war to kill civilians. 52,000 people were killed in the matter of 3 months. That was just a month ago. And now that basically more pressure is mounting up, like we've seen more videos of literally them shooting and killing people and kicking them off mountains. Like it's insane. So like a lot of people say this, it's only going to get worse before it gets better, and that's because we're not going to see what really happened until like things start to open up, like until like there's a connection like with the internet and all that stuff, until we actually see and get to hear from people even more. Like
Yeah,
there's going to be more bad news to come. So like that's what I'm saying, like it's there's no real point to the killing. It's just targeted killing of the people. Like they're blaming it on the political party and how much power they had for. They're gonna say like, oh, y'all ruled the country for 30 years, even though it was basically a conglomerate of different parties and they had like the main seat. So they're gonna say it's to do law enforcement, but really what it is just a genocide at this point. And this is it's you really have to read up on Ethiopian history. Like we could talk here for like a couple hours, but I would just encourage you. Like I have like some historical text, just non-biased that you can really read. But it also includes Eritrea. They're a whole nother country with their own thing coming into the situation that's happened. Just look at this comment here. You invite a foreign country to come attack the people in your country. Um, it's pretty rich, pretty rich.
yeah. It's a very sad story, to be honest with you.
Exactly. So that's uh that's what's happening, man.
Well, like I was saying to anybody that's out there watching, what you can do to help support is there's going to be links. And Mike, I ask you to please drop the links in the comments. I'm going to take those links, put them in the description. Anybody that is watching, also, like I said, go ahead and join the group. Make sure you continually post so that you can bring awareness. Um, everything inside of here is just to support everybody. So continue to promote and post and push and bring awareness. Um, and this video will be there for anybody that wants to use and share it whenever it goes up on YouTube. I will make sure to put it in the group, and I'll also make sure that Mike has it, and continue to try to bring awareness that people don't know, so that whenever the pandemic and everything's over, it's not like, oh, and look what happened in Tigray. This is what happened when everybody was locked up in the dark and wasn't able to see anything. We
Facts.
got a question that says, "What is the population?"
Yeah. So the number that they quote is 6 million. It could be somewhere around the 8 million, but 6 million is the number that you hear a lot of. Like that's the widespread number. So anywhere from 6 to 8 million. Obviously, like with a lot of people dying, obviously that can't be the same exact number, but that's where it is right now.
Yeah, I mean that would sound bad, and I guess I'm sure there's people that are getting phone calls from their family members that are saying that there's deaths and everything like that. So, um, got 6 to 8 million here.
Yep.
So, with everybody probably getting phone calls from their family and worried about what's going on. It's just kind of like
That's
if
if
you
they can even get the phone calls. That's the thing.
right, and I mean if you can just think in just the situation in the United States, or how big Houston is and developed. We just got I think word today that there were way more deaths across the state than what there was in a snowstorm. And now you're talking about, a genocide that can be covered up.
You know, the thing is, like, this is the most like stressful part of this is what was happening before this, like before this war actually happened. Imagine coronavirus happening, imagine this war happening, but like in between, like while you're dealing with coronavirus before this war starts, you get hit with a record amount of locusts. So like locusts obviously eat crops. For a heavy agriculture society, like we have like some very skilled, like I've met a lot of very skilled software engineers. Like there's a lot of good talent there, like students, but there's also, we also produce a lot of our own food too. So when all of our crops are being eaten by locusts, a record amount of locusts, like a crazy amount of locusts, then they start this war. So we already don't have as much food as we normally do come harvest season. We're already dealing with COVID, and then on top of that, this war too. Like you cannot write a worse situation for these people, and that's where it's like, at what point does this like stop? You know what I'm saying? Like that's where like that's where it just doesn't click for me. Is it's like three things that like the United States went to shambles. Like when we just dealing with COVID, like people can't even wear a mask. Like that's the problem we're dealing with. We're dealing with just COVID. And now imagine if we didn't have all our crops. Now people can't get food. So like imagine the whole toilet paper BS that was happening. Imagine that happening with food. Half of these people are not surviving. And then like you talk about like a war on top of it, and then they're still managing to fight. So like that's where it's just like,
Way to win wars through resources, and if you don't have any, you lose.
yeah. And then they're fighting with basically three different countries. Like that's where it's just like, you know, that's like where do you draw the line and say like these are some incredibly strong people, like these are our people, like we're watching this all happen. That's where it's like we really have to continue to speak up. So long-winded, but yeah, man, there's a lot, there's so much that they're dealing with. It's actually like insane.
Well, like I said, we're coming up on close to an hour,
Yeah, we're
but what we're
close,
gonna
man.
do, yeah, but like I said, we want you and everybody else to continue to post in the group and let people know, bring awareness, just like what you're already doing. This is more answer for why Tigray is the strongest states. Well, go ahead, Mike. Yeah, I got the
Yeah, they're
name.
saying like Tigray is one of the strongest states, like in terms of like strength, and then Abiy's administration, the prime minister, he wants to get rid of the federalism. So basically, like every state kind of having their own kind of like rights, like ability to rule themselves within a central kind of standing, and he wants to strengthen that central government power. So we're the only state that basically was resisting him from doing that, which is basically why you see the motive of what's going on. So they want to centralize the power of Ethiopia again. The hashtag that they've been using is Rising Ethiopia, hashtag One Ethiopia. So um, One Ethiopia, but it's a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of different people. So um, they're trying to just make one identity, but you can't really force a square into a triangle shape, right? Each shape is different. So you really can't say you're one. Like you can say you're one, like, but you have to respect everybody's like cultures, their rights to rule themselves within their own jurisdiction, within that central framework. And that's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to centralize his power, like kind of like a dictator.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it sounds kind of like Korea, but see that.
Yeah, yeah. I try to refrain from the refrain from the comparisons, but I mean, call a spade, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we're gonna try to wrap it up, and if anybody has any questions about what they can do, how they can help, go ahead and leave that out there. Mike, like I said, please leave the links in the description. Continue to post so people do know, and so that they can find the resources to be able to help, and also just to bring knowledge for anybody who's not able to watch the interview tonight. But we'll try to end on a positive note and just like I said, once again, Mike is doing other things and big things as well with his in his time that he has, which is very limited.
Very limited. Yeah.
So I guess, do you want to just let everybody know real quick about your podcast, just kind of introduce them to it and
Yeah.
what you have to come in store?
Yeah, it's been I'd say it's like a concept I've worked on for like maybe a couple years. Just kind of here and there. It's nothing been like I've put it like intensely into over. It's just been like kind of just like a workshop idea over time. Um, you know me. I don't know. Whoever's watching this may not know me that well, but really big into sports. Obviously, I know you from hooping all the time. You know we've watched playing basketball games. You know how hype I am about basketball.
Don't let them. Hey, I got footage.
Yeah, hey,
I
don't let
got
me
footage.
expose you, man. Don't let me expose you.
Hey, don't let them videos come out.
Yeah, no, yeah, I won't. But yeah, I wanted to do a podcast about sports, but I realized I don't have the time to do that because I'm not getting paid to do that. So using
Hey, I was just
sports,
gonna say this interview is not paid. It is free. So just so I can feed my
yeah.
family, go ahead and hit the pointer, Mike.
Where's it at? Is it right? Right
Down a little bit, down right,
here?
yeah, no, to the right a little bit. Yeah, we need you to subscribe. The button's gonna
We'll
be
hit right
right
there.
there. Go ahead and
Subscribe.
subscribe to the channel so we can feed our families here. You know what I mean? So this is a free interview, but hey, same thing with the podcast though. Like you said, you're not getting paid for it, at least now.
Yeah, and
And
I'm not as good at the editing and the technical stuff that you may be doing with this. This whole ticker, this Sports Center ticker you got going down here is pretty crazy. So maybe I have some things to learn from you. I can try to
hey,
share that.
it's nothing but to try to you know, help push everything and help all we do is support each other ever since the beginning.
Yeah,
Jamaica and Ethiopia are they have somewhat of a bond, so
yeah. Hey,
from way
you're gonna
back
have
in
to
the
make
day.
it Tigray in case something happens and it's a different country, um, uh, based on the people or whatever happens. But um, it's gonna be Jamaica and Tigray.
Oh, I
We're
can't
gonna
get my
say
fist in there.
one love. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. But I mean, so are you thinking about potentially well, hold on, let's address this one right here.
Yeah, so like it's saying 1.5 million people needed aid because of the locust situation. That was even before the war. So we were actually doing we were doing fundraisers and GoFundmes for raising money for the locusts to basically just like help them get out of that situation. Um, and then they're basically saying like now, we've been basically like knowing that we might have been attacked for some years now. So we've had to deal with like multiple different situations at multiple times. So really, like the people of Tigray are basically like the biggest casualty in this. Like they don't deserve this is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to answer your question about the
Podcast.
podcast, yeah, really what I want to do is like use sports as kind of like a gateway. So like a lot of people I know, like I just know a lot of eclectic people who have like super cool talents, do super cool stuff, and they all I can relate to all of them through sports. Like I have a friend. I'm an Arsenal fan, Arsenal football club fan. Go Gunners! And I know a friend at work who actually coaches at FC Dallas, and he's from London. He's a fan of like my rival team. We chopped it up about like how he coaches at FC Dallas, but we used kind of like our love of the game and like our two different teams in the rivalry as like the foundation to go into that talk. So I want to talk about what cool things people are doing, spread the awareness about what they're doing, and for people who are interested, kind of like what you do. But I want to use sports as like the road there because again, sports is like the great connector for everybody.
Yeah, around the world.
Yeah, it's facts.
And once again, from all of the voices that are in the audience, I know you see a lot of people are thanking you and very happy that you were here to speak up, and that's
Yeah.
definitely something commendable. And one thing I can always say about Mike from my years of knowing him, he may not look like it, but if somebody comes, he's gonna speak up. And I've always had his back myself, but I've realized in the past I don't even need to. But I got your back.
Wow. Okay. Hey, this comment here, yeah, that's that was shout out to Jamaican family. I
Hold
was
on,
gonna say,
where did it go?
no, that's facts.
It
Uh,
was there.
I think it was about the Rastafaris.
Oh, there it goes.
Man, yeah, Haile Selassie, he's a divisive character. I mean, I don't know. He's not the
Yo,
best
Ali
friend of Tigray.
Selassie.
He's not the
Hmm.
best friend of Tigray.
No.
No, he's we could talk about it later, but yeah,
Well,
he's a
just to
character.
put it out there, just to put it out there, there's not. It ain't that serious out there, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, for the podcast, yeah, like we'll do that, and then I always speak my mind. On the court especially. On the court especially. Like, no, I'm not
On the
taking nothing
court,
from no one.
sometimes off the court.
Off the court, 100%. On the court, 100%. It's that's how you
Hmm.
have to do it. The Mamba mentality.
And likewise, I've always never been really too shy to speak my mind, and sometimes it comes off a little bit not like what everybody wants to hear. But hey,
Hey, sometimes you got to tell people what they don't want to hear because that's
if
what they
if
really
you
need
don't,
to hear.
hey, if you don't speak up, then you have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, like one of my mentors, he tells me this. He's like, if you see something, say something. So like, if you see someone who needs help, you asking them like, hey, can I help you? If I see someone getting bullied, I'm not about to let it happen. Not that I've seen it. I'm gonna say something, and if like something needs to be done, whether it's just like something small, like okay, I need to throw this away, or like, hey, um, you know, I see these people over here struggling. Like you're gonna help them out. Like just do what you can. You don't have to do a lot, but if you can do one small thing, like it makes a difference. So yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. Like he bombed Tigray with the help of the British Royal Army. Um, so he's pretty divisive.
Is he still alive?
No, the Derg, the military regime I was telling you about,
Oh,
they overtook
I
him.
was
So
gonna
they
say I could have
basically
sworn he
imprisoned him.
died a long time ago, but
Yeah, it was like the 70s he died or something like that. 70s or like early 80s. So
yeah.
in any case, yeah. So um,
Well, I mean, hey, that's still knowledge as well.
hey, you learn something new every day.
Like I said, everybody doesn't know, and I think that there's a consensus that all Jamaicans are Rastas or whatever. But at the end of the day, even with the information that is such, it's not the case, and definitely don't know the history on what he did or why or any of that. Just like
Yeah. No, I mean nothing. You read about like that, the ties with Jamaica. It doesn't really like respond to that. That's more of like an internal thing. Like you really have to like know about Tigray to know about that. So that's where I'm just like, it's okay because it's more of a like a one-to-one relationship as opposed to like one to like in depth.
yeah,
So
and apparently they agree.
yeah, I was trying to tell you. I was trying to tell you.
And like I told you a long time ago, I don't have not probably one roster in my whole family, so it's not the news or the consensus that everybody sees. But either way, not to take away from the movement, make sure you leave the links that everybody can in the comments. Make sure that we are able to go and look and support. Um, looks like we got a lot of feelings about him here.
Yeah. It could probably be an all-day conversation.
Yeah, that might be another interview.
Yeah, so
The
yeah, this
controversial
right here,
figure for
like
sure.
there's some history. Like I was saying, like he's the whole central like one Ethiopia idea is like one he tried to enforce. Like that one Ethiopia idea, like man, all right, we're gonna have to just do this again. Like I might have to bring you onto my podcast. We can talk about this. So it's kind of like like
Well, hey, I'm
in
not a
the
Rasta,
NBA,
so I
like they
really
have like
can't tell
home and
you.
away games. So, like this is your home game. Now you're gonna have to play an away game on my podcast, and we'll
Hey,
talk about
I'm
this some
I'm
more.
fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm
so
fine with that.
we'll definitely dive into this because yeah, it does look like it's some things that people want to learn about.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, if there's no more questions or anything that anybody wants to say, I have to thank you again, Mike, for coming on. Just like everybody else, thank you for being a voice of the voiceless. Thank you for informing the group. Thank you for informing everybody on what's going on the other side of the world. And hopefully, this is able to bring awareness. I'm gonna make sure that this gets pushed out ASAP. Hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow morning. And we can go from there. Just make sure after this interview to please drop the information, the links in the comments. I'll take that, put it in the description, and then everybody can look. And then once again, so I can feed my family, This is going to be going on my second YouTube channel, which is Hollywood Interviews. You can watch it whenever you
Boom,
want
where's
to.
it at? Right here, guys,
Right
subscribe.
there. It's going to be right there. Yeah. So subscribe to Hollywood Interviews, and you can watch this video whenever. You can share it with everybody, on your platform so that they are able to also see. And, you know, like this person says, I believe it's Livingo. Um, Great job. Thank you.
Woo. Hey, man, do it for the people,
Yeah, for the culture.
for the culture. Over here, yeah, yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
bless and respect.
Man, I'm trying to think
Respect.
about like what I could shamelessly plug right now. This is first time
Go
on
ahead,
YouTube.
shamelessly plug whatever you need to. You deserve it.
Man, just want to shout out the TPN team, Dallas, all the other chapter cities. Y'all know who you are. Special shout out to the national TPN team, great leaders. Shout out TMAA, TIMA, our local Tigray community group for all of us. And then shout out to just the diaspora across the world, doing their thing, spreading awareness. Um, and then, shamelessly plug Dallas Cowboys, Mavs.
No, so now we're gonna have to cut you off, Mike. Hold on.
Yeah,
Where's the
nah,
where's
we're
the end
good. And
button?
yeah, man, I think that's everything I would shamelessly plug.
And don't forget the podcast in the future. Be looking
Yeah,
out
we
for
got
it.
that. We got that cooking. We'll have you on soon. Maybe if I come back on here again, we can talk about it and talk about some other stuff too. So watch out for the podcast. I'll be dropping it in the group once it's ready.
All right, thank you for enlightening everybody. I might have to drop a clip of me doing you dirty in the video in the beginning.
Hey, don't worry. I got some. I always got something in response. I always got a response.
Well, hopefully your phone, no, I'm just playing.
Good.
But thank you for everybody that's been watching. I will say I have seen a couple of familiar names show up in the audience, so thank y'all. Like I said, go ahead and join the group. Continue to support everybody. If you are a part of the DTPN or TPN period, make sure to continue to educate everybody by continually posting so that people know who you are. They're able to see what you have to offer, and then you can bring light to whatever the situation is that you need to. So thanks again, Mike. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. Don't see any further comments. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, take it easy. We'll see each other soon.
All right.